Welcome to another broadcast of the Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Good morning. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the August 2nd, 2007 Board of Commissioners meeting. Our quote for today: do what you feel in your heart to be right, for you'll be criticized anyway. Commissioner
Always
Blair, your dog.
We're dressed alike. We're color coordinated. His colors are permanent, mine are changeable. This week's featured pet at the Lorain County Dog Kennel is a male Boston Terrier picked up on Wood Street in Elyria. Very gentle, he appears to be. He is in cage 29 and is eligible for adoption Tuesday, August the 7th.
He's so cute.
He says, anybody out there want me? I make a good pet. Do we have any idea how old he is? About a year and a half. So he's got a lot of shelf life left. he's looking for a good home.
At least something out there.
Dog life.
Stop by our dog kennel. We have lots of dogs looking for someone to love them.
Gonna be a tough
Oh, look
dog
at those eyes. Oh. Look at that. Come on
I think
down.
you should take him.
Who should? You should. I did.
Selective hearing.
Yeah, you got it. He's a very nice dog.
Very calm.
Madam Clerk,
She's digging.
want an agenda?
Well, no, I got that.
Okay.
This is for you.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
The proclamation for child support.
Oh, okay. I'll let you read it.
You want me to read
Yeah,
it?
you can read it.
Okay.
Ted can't read today.
In the matter of proclaiming August 2007 as Child Support Awareness Month throughout Lorain County, whereas Lorain County Board of Commissioners wholeheartedly agrees that child support is an essential element in providing family stability, helping children grow up safe and healthy, and providing children with the opportunity for a better life. And whereas working partnerships among government agencies, parents, legislators, attorneys, judges, healthcare professionals, advocates, employers, and other organizations and community groups are critical to developing an effective child support program. And whereas the Board of Commissioners agrees with the importance of education and outreach as part of a customer service philosophy and as part of efforts to help encourage compliance with court-ordered obligations for child support. And whereas the Lorain County Child Support Enforcement Agency strives to provide good and efficient customer service to participants in nearly 31,000 child support cases. And whereas in order for Lorain County to continue to build upon its success in child support, continuing education, outreach, and partnership development are required. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Lorain County Board of Commissioners, we declare the month of August 2007 as Child Support Awareness Month in Lorain County and encourage all citizens to help ensure that the children of Lorain County receive the financial support they deserve. Signed by Ted Kalo, Betty Blair, and myself, Lori Kukowski.
I think D act's here. Right, D, do you
want me to-
accept?
Do you want me to read that too?
Good morning, D.
Morning, Dee.
Good morning.
That's what you call first-hand lobbying.
I would like to thank the commissioners, and I would also like to take this opportunity to announce that in addition to this month's being the Child Support Awareness Month, we also have a program that will be running through the month of August for auto license reinstatement. One of the enforcement remedies that we have as an agency when parents who are ordered to pay don't pay is that we can block or we can take their driver's licenses or professional licenses away. During the month of August, we are having a license reinstatement program. It's a program that Lorain County pioneered three years ago and was extremely successful. Among the things that we found in studies that we conducted with the groups who got their licenses back is that in the 6 months prior to our suspending the licenses, this group of parents paid approximately 20% of their ordered support amounts. In the 6 months following, it was like 68%. And then we followed that same group a year later and 18 months later and found that it's still at around 42%. So which indicates that there was kind of a change in behavior. And of course, paying a larger percentage means more children get what they need. Because the program was so successful, it was replicated by other counties, and this year, about 30 counties in Ohio will be joining us this month to give those parents who have their licenses a break, an opportunity to pay 1 month's obligation plus $1 toward their arrearages, with the understanding that they will continue to pay their obligations. Lorain County also won a state best practice award for this program last year. So we're out there ahead of the pack. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to talk about the program, and also I would like to commend the staff of the Child Support Enforcement Agency. Our caseworkers have very high caseloads and deal with over 60,000 customers, and it's difficult at times, but they really are a devoted group, and I would like to thank them publicly. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee.
And I'd like to commend the Child Support Enforcement Division for their pioneering across the state. I think I read that in the information that was forwarded to us, and I think it shows once again that Lorain County is a leader. Congratulations.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
At 10 o'clock, we're going to have a presentation from Board of Mental Health on their renewal levy. Under Resolutions Number 1, Job and Family Services Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Investments?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Appropriations?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I have a question. We have a $100,000 transfer for the north-south corridor, which is going to be reimbursed by the Transportation Improvement District. But when we get down to requisitions, the requisition is for $120,000, and I was wondering where the additional $20,000 was coming from for that study.
It should be all out of TID dollars totally. Everything's through Department of Development, and we
Well,
voted on it at
the
our TID
transfer
meeting.
is 100, and then the requisition's 120.
I'm going to make an assumption here that there's already $20,000 in the account, and the new money is what we're transferring in. Correct, Budget Director?
Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
No advances or repayments, requisitions?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Travel expenses?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Bills?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within jurisdiction of Lorraine County Commissioners.
Mr. Cordez?
Thank you, Commissioner. I do have a large number of employment issues, specifically new hires, at Job and Family Services that we need to discuss, update on ongoing labor negotiations with both the Teamsters and the United Steelworkers of America, potential purchase of real estate, and for the moment, I think that should do it. If I think of anything else, I'll update the request for executive session during my portion of the meeting. So I would ask that we have an executive session at the conclusion of our regular board meeting today. Thank you.
Approve and enter into lease agreement with OSU Extension Office for 3,317 square feet finished office space at 42110 Brewster Road, Elyria. Annual rent is $35,027.52 to be paid at a monthly rate of $2,918.96 effective September 1st, 2007 through August 31st, 2008.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Approve and enter in a lease agreement with Lorain County Chamber of Commerce for 1,506 square feet finished office space at 226 Middle Avenue, 5th floor, County Administrative Building, Elyria. Annual rent is $19,578 to be paid monthly at a rate of $1,631.50 effective August 14, 2007 through August 14, 2008.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Rescind the Resolution 04421 adopted June 10, 2004, supporting the cancellation of the functions of the Domestic Relations and Probate Divisions of Lorain County Court of Common Pleas through the statutory creation of Lorain County Court of Common Pleas, Domestic Relation, Probate, and Juvenile Divisions.
So moved.
I'll second for discussion purposes.
Yep.
Doug, did you have something you wanted to talk about with?
Thank you, Commissioner. I just wanted to mention that this was kind of a surprise to us that we received no notification that it was your intention to rescind your prior resolution previous to our receiving the board agenda, and that was a little surprising to us. Currently, Judge Baczynski is in the hospital, so I've not been able to communicate this with him. And I know when we looked at this, I provided the feasibility study to you. One of the things, as I reviewed it again, it really didn't address one of the key component issues that you're obviously having to look at, that being money. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I've been doing for the last week is looking at what other kinds of cost-saving measures we could go to take this from the original estimate that Mr. Stewart gave you of $1 million, to the letter that I gave you, which was $389,000, down even further, so that it was still feasible. The non-economic benefits to the citizens for a family court structure are significant, and I think the court is still committed to doing that. I would ask if this is strictly an economic issue, that you consider giving us time to prepare a proposal for you for additional cuts that or other kinds of techniques that we could use to further cut the cost of consolidating the courts. If there are certainly if there are other considerations, then that would only be one issue. But I'm anticipating that Judge Baczynski will be out of the hospital by next week and be able to have this discussion with him and Judge Boros and Judge Berta, which would give us an opportunity to present to you additional ways that we might cut this $389,000 figure even further, so that it's at least a palatable option should the sales tax actually pass.
Doug, I think we've been talking about this for, the last 90 days or so when I met with Judge Baczynski, and sorry to hear he's in the hospital. Is he going to be okay? Nothing serious, I hope?
You're having some testing done. We're a little uncertain at this point.
Okay. But I read your executive summary. Thank you. I really didn't want to read the whole book. And I went through it, I spent a lot of time on this, and the letter from Judge Baczynski that he copied to all of us with his cost of the $389,000. But this doesn't take into account the cost for the prosecutor's office also. That's where that $760 to $1 million figure comes in with total salaries at this point. And we've been talking about it. And I know the state legislature has to be involved. Our resolution doesn't just turn it back without the state legislature. But
Sure.
We also have coming up whether we'll pass a sales tax or not, and reinstating the rest of the budgets for the rest of this year. We only gave back half. I know Commissioner Kowski wanted to give it all back, but we have other concerns, and we're going to meet on labor agreements. I just don't see where any of the cuts are going to be beneficial enough to get us to zero cost, especially if the sales tax doesn't go, Doug. I'm not a judge. I don't decide how judges do their business, but we do have budgetary responsibility and
No, and we understand that.
I mean,
There's no
there's-
question that we understand, the position you're in, and the, and I indicated I especially appreciated the open acknowledgement that the commissioners made at the last meeting, that that your first and foremost responsibility is to provide a budget to the rest of us who survive on that budget. I guess my concern is that it was, I know there was, there are a lot of benefits to it, and obviously we are going to advocate to continue that process. And if there were, if purely financial, we would just have liked the opportunity to present other additional cuts that or restructuring that could be made to make this feasible. The other issue is the possibility of waiting to vote on this until after the sales tax vote in the fall.
I recognize that the court wasn't notified that it'd be on the agenda today, but I think it's a little bit misleading to indicate that the courts were unaware of this, because you and I have had these discussions, and I told you this was coming.
Well,
So there was plenty of
the actual vote.
Well, let me quite finish.
Oh.
Okay, and there was plenty of opportunity, seeing this coming, to make a presentation anywhere along the line. In fact, you and Tim Luby requested that we meet and discuss reconfiguration of the courtroom and modifications to the Justice Center that would be needed to facilitate a family court. And I believe about more than 2 months ago, I told you that the board had told me to put a hold on any of that until they worked over this matter. So it was known it was coming. I mean, when, maybe not completely, but it was known that it was coming, and there's been plenty of opportunity to come in here and make a defense or a protest against the board working on this. So I just want to point out that I think saying that we were not made aware of this, it really isn't an accurate statement.
Well, not made aware of this particular vote.
Well,
If
the
that-
particular
no, to be
date,
exact.
but it's been
Particular
known.
date, sure.
And Judge Baczynski himself has spoken to me on this, so he was aware that this was an issue that was going to be.
And I think he expected that he would be notified of the particular vote coming, so that we would have an opportunity. But again, we understand that there are certainly major economic concerns, and that was not a question. We had actually thought that the decision to go forward with this and make this vote would come after the sales tax vote, when you would know what the resources available to you would be for next year.
Our concern being, though, Doug, through the state legislature, is there's a ballot issue up for Judge Horvath's position, and petitions be pulled as to what type of judge they're running for. That's a concern also with the state on the Board of Elections. And there's a lot of things that trigger going forward, and I don't think us on the IFCOM can guess whether we're going to have the additional revenue or not. You're already
Sure.
short $150,000 this year. We gave
Sure.
Board action, majority gave you half of your money back. You're still short 150. To be able to guarantee we can come up with another 390,000, plus the build out at the Justice Center, plus raise the baseline for the prosecutor's office with additional employees. I don't think any of us in good faith can say on August 2nd, 2007, sure, let's go forward with it, with what we're facing. I can't support going forward to expend those additional $750,000, not knowing what we're going to have or work with.
Sure, I understand.
Is time really of the essence on this part of the agenda? I mean, we just brought this up during our fiscal hearings. That was really the first time we openly discussed anything about this, and I thought more information was forthcoming. And I, too, am surprised that this was on the agenda today.
And I think it's been discussed. I mean, we had brought this up before, and Judge Baczynski had sent us letters where he was asking the state legislature, going back, I don't have that part of my folder with me, but I think this has been ongoing for probably 90 days.
We have contacted Representative Kazura regarding this, and we've made, but again, regarding the specific, financial issues, we had hoped to be able to present other options to try to mitigate the cost associated with this process, which we know is, and even in looking at, what Mr. Cortez brought up, the build-out, we had done, I had discussed with the judges the possibility of not moving any of the probate staff. Because one of the things that came up was, having to move the probate staff and having to restructure the Justice Center. And I had said, to my judges, it's possible that we could, we could make this work without moving the probate staff, which would save them whatever costs are associated with, refitting. Obviously, the prosecutors, the prosecutor's salary and those kinds of associated costs that you have to consider were something that we have no control over. But, the things
They're just part of doing the job for another domestic relations judge, correct? It's just
right.
the cost of doing business.
Right. But obviously we can only make recommendations or offer solutions to issues that we have some control over.
Right.
And I'm sure you understand that.
Oh, without a doubt. Appreciate it. Maybe we can go towards a fourth domestic relations judge in the near future if the citizens of Lorain County support a sales tax, that we can afford to do another one, Doug. But at this point, moving forward, I think we just have to look at 2008 on how we're going to be able to perform our jobs and fund all the departments.
By passing this today, what are we really accomplishing? Because we're not really moving forward with any build-out or doing any of these things, so why?
What it's doing, though, is it then triggers the state legislature to see if they can overturn this was done by state legislature with the support from the commissioners. Without rescinding the commissioner's order, the state legislature can go forward. And then we have a timeline there for the Board of Elections to do a ballot.
Mr. Chairman, Jerry, where does this leave us? If in fact we pass this resolution, what does your crystal ball see as the next step?
Well, obviously you'd have to discuss with the legislators to get them to change the existing law, because as the existing law now is, it calls for the merging of these two, the domestic and juvenile court and the probate court, into one division. And in fact, I think it's in 2009 that the probate judge will, as it presently stands in Lorain County, not be there. They will be all
Correct.
combined judges. So, I mean, that is the current state of the law, and that's going to happen unless the law is changed. So your next step would be to go to the legislators and see if that can be.
Shouldn't we go to the legislators
done
first and then?
They already have, Commissioner Kikowski.
Well, I think what Commissioner Caleb's trying to say is the individual commissioners could not go to the, I guess you could lobby the legislature, but the legislature is not going to take any formal action as long as you have a resolution on the boards that says you support this. So I think what Commissioner Caleb is saying is we at least have to go on the record as a board that we no longer support it. Does it do anything in and of itself? No, it doesn't.
Unless they take action to support
But
our position.
right.
Otherwise, we're expected to move forward
Otherwise, the law.
without money from them.
The law is
Correct.
there.
Okay.
It's another one of those mandated things we have to provide without a check. Comments, Commissioners? You've been around
Thank you
here
for your
a long-
consideration. I do appreciate the fact that you did review the feasibility study, and I like I said, I was, it was unfortunate that, that the feasibility study did not, particularly the executive summary, did not address the money issue adequately.
And even when I
And-
referred back through, there were not a lot of hard tack
No.
dollars in this. It's a great book.
No, and
But it doesn't
talks
do the
about the
practicality.
benefit. It talks about the tremendous benefits to the citizens, but really doesn't talk about the cost savings, even that was originally discussed, some time ago.
Yeah, going all the way back to '99 with Hunter Hearst.
Right.
Right, yeah, I did, and I also did some research on the internet with it, and there was only 3 bulletins on family courts from the Supreme Court. One of the PDFs wasn't open, by the way.
Okay.
I did actually I went through it all quite thoroughly to make sure before I made a decision or a motion or discussion that I was well informed as much as I could be, not understanding all the legalese,
Sure.
of course, but.
Well, Doug, first of all, I'd like to thank you for double-siding the second.
I made a point of doing that.
And I appreciate that.
Save a tree.
And if you continue to do that in all your court actions, I would really appreciate that, because we are into saving trees. as Commissioner Kalo commented, I've been around through, this will be the third version of it then. It was off again, on again, and now it's up in the air. In 1999, 2000, it was in 2000, the then Board of Commissioners had hearings, 2 hours worth of hearings at one time, and we rejected the concept of combining the courts. The next board adopted the concept. However, you mentioned that Judge Pasinski is not here, and I hope he's doing all right. At that point, Judge Horvath was not available that day, and Myron asked that we withhold our decision, and that board ignored that request and went forward. We were told that there was consensus at that time for the court. Afterwards, I'm not so sure that that consensus really existed. You can tell anybody anything, but to substantiate it is not always easy. We already have a family court. Is that not right, Doug? I mean, that's what
Yeah.
the material that was presented to me
The
says.
the legislature had indicated that we are, that we are functioning as a family court currently, based on the new legislature that was passed, the new statute that was passed that would encompass the probate division in 2009. So our judges are doing, for example, they're doing adoptions, currently. Because they have been given through this statute the ability to do certain probate functions that up to that point they had not been. So we are functioning in that capacity in some small way. But the true benefit would only be derived by combining the courts.
And I think the way you're doing now is by agreement with Judge Horvath until he
Yes.
retired, that he would continue his probate
Yes, that is
judgeship,
correct.
And then it would combine in 2009 with the new judge coming in as a family court.
Correct.
Which in theory is not as a bad idea because it addresses more of the domestic juvenile issues, single case, single judge,
Right.
all the way through. But then it tends to not address the probate issues as thoroughly. It's not real heavily addressed anywhere, and this is how the probate is taken care of. It seems it's more directed towards the family and the youth, and working with the unmarried parents and unwed parents and single parents and such. It doesn't quite address the probate as thoroughly as a single probate.
Well, I guess that I thought that you had the trappings of a family court without the probate court to begin with. That at least was my understanding of what I was reading. And you have a judge, a probate judge, who already is engaged in work, and now to transfer his services into the full family court doesn't do away with his existing work. And very soon down the road, I think we're going to be looking at the need for another judge in the domestic relations / juvenile division, with or without the probate court judge being in there.
I agree.
This is what I'm reading anyway. So I guess that, and I don't like what I'm looking at with renovation of the Justice Center. That to me is the key objective that I find hard to swallow with the price tag that's attached to it.
Well, and that's why I'd made the suggestion that that perhaps we did not need to do, and that's actually when Tim Luby and I sent over the letter, we had thought that having the input early on and having the opportunity to discuss all of these things was the best way to go. Just as Commissioner Kalo had indicated that there's time frames that you have to consider. If you're looking at if you were going to consider building out or changing the structure of the Justice Center to accommodate this process, you couldn't wait until June of '08 to do it, mm-hmm. because that you would need there's too many logistical hurdles to overcome. So that's why we wanted to bring that to your attention. But there's nothing that says that you would have to do that. You would have to restructure, because even logistically, and with courts that in other parts of the state that include both juvenile and probate, they don't combine a lot. They don't combine their computer systems. They're not combining they're just combining their administrative functions just to attempt to save money. And that's where we were looking at is looking at trying to combine some of the the lower caseload that exists in probate with some of the increases that we have to try to delay what you termed as being the inevitable adding of a fourth domestic relations judge. Because when you start looking at a fourth domestic relations judge, then you're looking at
About $1.3 million.
You're looking at that $1 million.
Right.
And that's even in good times, that's a big chunk of money.
I would hope that somewhere down the road, especially with the escalating crime and such we have with juveniles nowadays, that the public would see the need for a fourth domestic relations / juvenile judge.
And I believe that if my figures are still accurate that were provided to me, that the 12 largest counties still have separate probate divisions. They do not have combined with the domestic relations juvenile.
Yeah, Lorain County was the largest county that was brought into the original pilot study in '99 with Claremont, Fayette, and I forgot the other one off the top of my head.
Mercer.
Mercer, thank you, small county, so, who only had one or two. One of them combined with Common Pleas also, didn't they?
Right.
They're such a small county of 27,000 residents, so I mean, I think we're up there where we're the 9th largest county, and I think we should still have probably, at this point, due to the budget constraints, just continue a simple probate, reverting back prior to the family court.
Okay. Well, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Doug.
it.
I hope Judge Basinski's feeling better.
I would like to maybe place this on hold until next week, until Judge Basinski has an opportunity to come before us and explain his side before we make a decision on this. I don't think this is something that needs to be done today. I see.
I think we're at the point that we've been discussing this for 90 days plus, Commissioner. We have to make decisions on October's budget and to go forward. I don't see any reason to hold up. Is that this just gives a trigger for the state legislature. All of our local state legislators have said that they would support this in Columbus. In my discussions with Mr. Kazura, Ms. Morano, Mr. Barrett, Mr. Lundy, they would support it based on budget costs. We don't have the money for this, and I can't see going forward on this. This was in the paper a week and a half ago. I think it's time.
Shirley R. Johnson.
Shirley R. Johnson, Oberlin. Well, I've changed what I was going to say as I've been standing here, but I think I support Mrs. Kukowski's position that this should be delayed. Mr. Kalo says it's been discussed for 90 days. Well, it certainly hasn't been discussed for 90 days in public. And I think that what Mr. Messer is requesting is to be able to have more of a public presentation from the court's point of view. At first, I thought you were doing this on the basis of cost, and I came up to say, well, then include that as the reason and why you're rescinding this. But as you individually began making comments, it was obvious you were also talking about the concept. And I think if it's a matter of policy and concept, the public is entitled to know what the reasons are, pro and con, not just the cost.
Well, my main objective is cost. I'm budgetary here. We can't guarantee what we're going to have in 2009, and to continue forward, we have build-out time, which Mr. Messer wanted to look at 90 days or 120 days ago, and he sent a letter out. And I've had ongoing letters back and forth between Mr. Basinski, Judge Basinski, and Mr. Messer as to the issues, and I've gone through all of my paperwork here, and it's been quite extensive, and I just believe the future costs, we can't afford it. There is no way we're going to be able to afford the additional $750,000 in salaries and raising everyone's baseline and providing new employees when we're looking at not even making this year's budget in total.
Well, I'm not here to argue with you.
Oh, no, you said your point of view.
And it's great that you've been studying this privately, but my point is that the public has not known about or heard the arguments or seen the documents since, well, maybe 2004. I remember when all the judges were here and gave their opinions on what should be done and what shouldn't be done and why and so on. That's not happening now. If you're only doing this on the basis of cost, then say so. If you're doing it on the basis of concept, then the public is entitled to know why.
Thank you, Shirley.
Anything further?
No?
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
I'm not against this, but I did want to hold off for another week, so I'm going to vote no.
Under Community Development Department, approve the semi-annual revolving loan fund report for period January 1st, 2007 through June 30th, 2007, as submitted by the Community Development Department.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Under Job and Family Services, instruct the clerk to advertise for requests for proposals for art experiences to children attending child daycare center and/or in-home child daycare centers sites. Published in the Chronicle Telegram on August 6th and 13th, and open at 2 p.m. on August 20th in Commissioners' Public Hearing Room.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Authorized purchase service agreement with Lorain County Children and Families Council for the Early Start Component of Help Me Grow program using TANF funds for fiscal year '08. Agreement is effective July 1st, 2007 through June 30th, 2008 in the amount not to exceed $993,021, and authorized director to execute on behalf of the board with prosecutor's approval as to form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes. Mr. Cortez, if we have any more, and this is through Job and Family Services, not our Children's Family First Council.
This-
How is Lorain doing on this? 'Cause I know they had real issues, and they're talking about cutting services and not replacing staff that is retired. Been any update on that?
Which number are you on, Commissioner?
17.
17. The Help Me Grow program.
We're not having any problems over with the Help Me Grow program right now. We were cutting staff. What we did is adopted a more streamlined model that's being used around the state to flatten out costs so that everybody was getting the same amount of money and producing the same amount of services for the same amount of money.
Right.
Before, it was a variable cost, and there was quite a bit of disparity across the various agencies, and we've tried to flatten that out. So we haven't really lost funding, and I know there's been some concern from the health
Well, that's what's been
departments.
printed in the paper from the Health Department. That's why I
Right.
was asking to bring it up.
They have suffered some changes in the way we apply the formula for the delivery of services for the efficient and effective use of the limited resources we have. They're just going to have to learn to work under a different model that's being adopted pretty much statewide, so that everybody is using the same funding formulas. The Catholic Charities also had a small issue with that we
Right.
were able to work out. And I have been in touch with Terry Tomaszewski over at the Health Department. We've gone back and forth, and he was in to look at the RPs, and I told him if we had any additional concerns that we would meet. And he hasn't called back to say
Okay,
there
all right.
was any
Just I knew
further.
there was a lot of concern. It was in the paper that they had concerns on how they were going to do it, not replacing staff and not providing services.
Well, again, that's because I'm trying not to be disparaging, and I don't
Right.
want this taken the wrong way.
Some
but-
people can't embrace change.
Well, they cannot embrace change, but they also don't want to be told what the actual cost of the service is. They want us to reimburse they want to pay for that service. So it's pretty much like we're saying, we're going to pay $75 for this service, and you're going to have to produce a service for $75. Not if you go out and it costs you $125 to produce a service, then you're not going to be in the game. You
It's like
got
the insurance companies do.
pretty much.
Okay.
And so we're trying to say that, the escalating cost that we've been seeing in the last few years are just taking away program dollars from direct services, and we need to keep those costs as low as possible, and we need to keep them similar across the county. Before, I could tell you, there would sometimes be a 25% difference between the cost of one end of the county to the other end of the county because we were allowing them to bill back at what they said their cost was. Now we established the base cost, and they have to operate under those parameters.
Okay, all right, just want some clarification on that. Thank you.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Authorized purchase of administrative agreement with Lorain County Children and Families Council for the Early Start component of the Help Me Grow program for fiscal '08. Agreement is effective July 1st, 2007 through June 30th, 2008 in the amount not to exceed $5,000, and authorized director to execute on behalf of the board with prosecutor's approval as to form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Under the Workforce Development Agency, approve and enter into purchase service contract and Lorain County Workforce Institute of Lorain County for the purchase of services for the operation of the Employment Network One-Stop Career System, and this is going to be effective August 1st, 2007 through June 30th, 2008 in the amount not to exceed $1,546,680.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Cordez, where was this in accordance to the last couple of years? 'Cause I know we had extended dollars and cents in offering one stop. I know the one stop's a lot busier now than what it used to be.
Well, we have a lot of activity in the One Stop, and I will tell you, we've established some really new relationships in the way we're going to do our business. That's why we asked for a 30-day extension to the agreement just last month, and that was concluded at the end of July. I'm very encouraged that we're taking a look at our processes and procedures there, and we're making some strategic changes, not only in the relationships, but in how the resources are going to be applied within the community, and our ability through partnership with the Workforce Institute to innovate some changes and get out in front of these issues. The state is going to be making huge changes in workforce development within the next year, and we're fortunate enough to have Dr. Church has been selected to be on the Workforce Development State Board.
Beautiful.
So he has been forwarding material from when that board meets to us, so we have a lead-in on exactly where that board's going to be going in the coming months so that we can prepare for those changes more fully here and be leading the initiatives here in Lorain County. So this is a good contract. Dr. Shanahan from the college is the acting director of the Workforce Institute. He met with Vivian extensively, and with Diane from the One Stop. She will be the new supervisor of the One Stop over there. She's been there a long time, has a good background, and knows exactly what needs to be done. And I'm going to say that I'm looking forward to renewed relationships and even greater outcomes than we had last year.
Dollars and cents, are we still in the same area of cost?
We are.
Increased services we're providing, or?
We're in the same area, and of course we still have the incumbent dollars that we rolled over from last year still available. And I was notified yesterday by Vivian that we're going to be able to apply for additional dollars from the state. She sent me some information yesterday. I haven't fully vetted it yet, but it's looking encouraging. And we're going to continue to apply for the DOL grants and the ETA grants, and I will be talking to you about our youth bill grant later on individually with each commissioner, and to let you know what we're doing there. Yeah, we've actually pushed it up about 2 gears in the transmission here, trying to pick up some more speed. The federal government's putting a lot of money into workforce development right now. We just got to make sure that we continue to ask. We haven't been successful except with that NEG grant, and we're working with Cuyahoga County to merge their emergency grant with our emergency grant so that we can get better use of those resources too across the region. So hopefully we'll bring back more money over the course of next year.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Under Children's Services, authorize the agency to change from MasterCard to a Visa card, authorize various additions and deletions of personnel to utilize the specific card amounts for the year 2007 not to exceed $2,500, $5,000, $7,500, $10,000, and $20,000, and the Shell Oil Gasoline card not to exceed $200 for the work-related items to include conferences, food, lodging, transportation, telephone, gas, and oil, minor vehicle maintenance, and emergency repairs to county-owned or leased vehicles.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Under the engineer, approve and enter into an engineering service agreement with the City of Lorain to use the engineering bond fund to improve Oberlin Avenue from West 30th Street to North Ridge Road. Estimated construction cost is $2,220,000, and the agreement is for $210,000 for design engineering and $40,000 for local share of construction engineering. Authorize county administrator to execute documents on behalf of the board with prosecutors approval as to form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Mm.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator.
I have no additional comments this morning. Thank you.
Mr. Ennis, Assistant County Prosecutor.
I have no litigation to discuss with the commissioners this morning either.
Wow.
Commissioners report.
Do we want to do?
I have two things. I thank you, Mr. Kalo, for giving me the information from Dr. Wood for the dog kennel. What he proposes to have physical exams, which include heart, lungs, and teeth, vaccinations, DHLPP, worming if necessary, rabies vaccinations if needed, but they must be administered by a licensed veterinarian. All exams and vaccines to be given by a licensed veterinarian and or veterinarian technician. Training for kennel staff would be signs of aggression, aggressive behavior, proper handling of dogs, and other subjects deemed necessary. So what I'd like to do is get RFPs if that's what is required to get the ball rolling, so we can take the guesswork out of whether a dog is sick, needing attention, aggressive, adoptable, not adoptable, and I'd like to get this done as soon as possible. Do we need to do RFPs for this, or can we just go ahead with Dr. Wood? Jerry? Jim? Somebody?
Well, on the RFPs, Probably be a good idea because there's a lot of veterinarians. I mean, I go to Doc Woods, and he's been our family veterinarian for a number of years. But there's a lot of veterinarians that would be interested in providing services at the kennel, and we've had assistance from several of them. We could develop an RFP and see. I think we talked the last time we spoke on this. Didn't we talk about possibly just having some of them on a list that we could rotate through and possibly give everybody an opportunity to provide services, or do you want to go more fully with just one in-house
I would
provider?
rather just do one. That way we know they're always going to be there, and I think
Right.
one would be better than having more than one.
I agree, just for the training part of it. You don't want different people training.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You
Sure.
want somebody to go forward, and just talking with Doc Woods when he put this proposal together a couple years ago, and I followed up with him again when I was asked, he said it would just be a list of veterinarians, but just one person to sort of like administrate the program.
Okay.
Because of vacations and such, so maybe we can do a request for a proposal on administrating a program, someone in charge of it, and then however, come up with a proposal on how they would operate and how they would run it, and a cost level to it.
We can certainly do that. That shouldn't be hard to do and should be accomplished in a few weeks. I do have an update on some issues for the pound, if you want them, Commissioner. We do have the metal cages now up in the front. I don't know why it took so long. I sent a follow-up to that in the last couple of weeks, so finally some action happened there. We have all the lettering on the door. We have the steel mesh up on the front of the cages, and some of these have been going for the last couple of weeks, but I did ask for an update because I knew you were interested. And the closed-circuit television system has been up and running, and we have been monitoring that, but we need some new equipment there, too. It's going to be a few $1,000s. So there is progress being made with those issues, but clearly we need to do more. And I'm hopeful within the next 2 weeks I'll also give you an update on where we are with the RFQs to request assistance to expand some of the areas in the pound. From the time that we walked through, I think we were both pretty disgusted with the layout there in the center end of the pound. It's archaic. It never should have been designed that way, and we need to get rid of those small middle row cages like we talked about. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping to bring you back an update on that. I'm sorry it's moving a little slow, but we're going to get on top of that pretty quick. And if you provide me that information, Jack's on vacation, I think, for the next 2 weeks, but I will get with him and work on an RFP to get that done.
I read in the newspaper that Jack was going to be in contact with the Cuyahoga Animal Protective League on Monday. Did you hear anything from that discussion?
There must have been something that was an impediment to finishing a relationship, because I have a call from her on the stack of about 800 calls I got to return this week, indicating that she wanted to come in with me, meet with me. I think we're still having a problem with the licensing and us being able to release dogs from the kennel without a license. This is not our self-imposed problem. I mean, this is the Ohio Revised Code mandates that we do not release dogs without them being properly licensed. I did make some suggestions to Jack. I'm not sure how they were related to her, so I'm going to have a meeting with her. I'm going to try to do that next week, and I will make that call back to her before conclusion of this week's business, and I'll report further to you once I do that.
Okay.
Might be better if when you meet with her, you also have Jack there too, so everybody knows what's going on at the same time.
Okay. On a similar note, I want to thank John Penna. He was the commander at the Amherst American Legion, and our APL was looking to put a new sign out front, and they were doing a fundraiser, and he got a donation from the American Legion for like $750 to help out with that. So I want to thank John for that. And I was looking at the recap sheet that we just got today. I see John Kilroy in the amount of $1,553. Is he allowed to be paid on the side, being that he's an employee of the county, similar to the ice machine incident?
John Kilroy?
Well, Jack Kilroy.
Oh.
John,
sorry.
Jack, same.
It depends on which bottle you're drinking. No. I think that's probably a better question for legal counsel.
What is that for?
It said Holmes. The purpose is, it looks like some kind of legal dispute maybe. It just said there's different names, and his says Holmes. Maybe a case number. Is he
Okay.
allowed to be
I was gonna
indigent
say, if
attorney
that's
fee
a-
and be a county employee? Is that the same person? I'm sure it is. How many John P. Kilroys are there in the world? Is that legal, Jerry?
Well, it's legal for him to be paid. In that I mean, there isn't a problem with him doing both of those things, because that's really an entirely different perspective.
How so?
I don't know if there's...
That's kind of interesting. So
Well, he's not acting as an employee of the county when he's acting as...
But he is an employee of the county.
Right, but when he's acting as counsel for indigent attorneys, or indigent defendants.
Well, would the person who sold us an ice machine, when he sells it to us, be acting as an employee of the county? I understand where you're going
That's
with
what
that.
I was
mean,
concerned that might be a problem. You want to look into that?
Well, I can look into it more detailed. There might be some other considerations involved, but again, he's not really acting as an employee there of the county.
Okay.
Okay.
Look into it for me. I'll sign this, even though I've got questions on it, I guess. That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Blair would like us to go ahead with our presentation. I'm sure Charlie has to get back to work. Mr. Neff?
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Charlie.
First of all, thank you for inviting me here today. I'm here to talk about our 6/10 mill levy, which our board has sent a resolution to you all asking to be placed on the ballot in November for a renewal of that levy. I just wanted to take a few minutes this morning, talk a little bit about the Board of Mental Health itself. The Board of Mental Health is comprised of 18 residents of Lorain County. The requirements are that they be a citizen of the county and that they have an interest in mental health. 12 of the 18 are appointed by this board, and 6 are appointed by the director of the Ohio Department of Mental Health, and they serve at no compensation for 4-year terms. The purpose of the Mental Health Board of Lorain County is to serve the community by promoting health and well-being through an innovative and comprehensive continuum of the highest quality mental health services. Unlike some county departments, the Board of Mental Health is prohibited by law from providing direct service ourselves. We accomplish our mission through contracting with 16 county agencies who are listed on this slide, who provide a various array of mental health services to the community. This slide demonstrates our revenues for this fiscal year, and the slice that is kind of pulled out of the pie, it represents the amount of revenue generated by the levy that I'm here talking about this morning. This slide shows a breakdown of our expenses from the board perspective, and I think it's important to show that nearly 93% of the money that we spend is spent on patient care in the community, and a very, very small part of that is any kind of administrative overhead of our organization. I thought I'd just briefly point out to you that what would be the impact to our system of care if this levy were not renewed. This slide shows, the blue line would show our anticipated or projected unobligated cash balance at the end of each of the next 5 fiscal years. The red line, which would diverge from the blue line in 2009, which would be when the current levy would no longer be collected, shows that we would be facing the need to make nearly $10 million in cuts to our system over that period of time, because as you know, we can't have a negative cash balance. So that would be a very drastic cut to our system. Our system serves, on average, about 3,700 citizens every single month, as this slide demonstrates. We've also, over the last decade, seen a tremendous increase in the number of individuals we are serving who have either a severe mental illness or children and adolescents who have a severe emotional disorder. The number of children has nearly doubled over that period of time, and the adults are up by about 70% over that same period of time. Talk a little bit about what our levy does. It funds support groups that help parents and families cope if they have a loved one who is suffering from a mental illness. We fund a 24-hour crisis hotline service for the community to deal with emergency situations. and to provide crisis intervention for families. The levy helps laid-off workers and their families deal with the stresses of their situation, provides training and assistance to people who are themselves recovering from mental illness. We have services in nearly every school building in Lorain County. This is to assist teachers with children that may be disruptive in the classroom and to assist them in better ways of handling those situations. And oftentimes these days that's not something the school districts are able to do themselves. Most of all, the mental health levy ensures that the residents of Lorain County can receive the services that they need regardless of their ability to pay for those services. And we have support through our contracts with our agencies, and we have a copay schedule that's very generous to ensure that money never gets between somebody and the treatment that they need. What does the levy cost? The owner of a $100,000 home pays currently less than $15 a year towards this levy, or about $1.25 a month. And a renewal of this levy will not increase the amount. It would keep it the same. And this, I just wanted to put up our contact information if anybody had any questions about who we are and what we do. Also, our website listed at the bottom is an excellent resource for people who would be interested in learning more about mental health and the issues related to that. At this time, if you had any questions for me, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Thank you very much, Charlie. You've got a great organization over there. You do a lot of great things.
Thank you.
Do we need a resolution supporting this then?
In order to put it on the ballot.
Yeah. Do we have one written up?
I have one. Okay. Declare it necessary for the, I don't have it with me, but it would be declaring it necessary to limit the 10 mil limitation of 0.6 mil levy for the November 2007 ballot.
So moved.
I'll second. Well, I guess we all second.
Anything further? Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Back
Thank
to
you. Good luck.
Commissioner's report. Were you done, Commissioner
I was
Kowski?
finished, thank you.
Commissioner Blair?
Thank you. First of all, I want to tell everybody, in case you missed it, the Chronicle Telegram had a great picture of Commissioner Kalo in on July 28th. He looks good in a red hat and a woman's dress.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You did a nice job, and I liked your comment. I can't find it. To cure cancer, I dress up as anything. God bless you.
Thank you.
Two things. There is a news release at the back of the room talking about our Alliance meeting tomorrow. Back. And it talks about the communities, 20 communities that need to come in compliance with stormwater regulations from the U.S. EPA as of spring 2008. So we're going to have several presenters who will give information about how that might be accomplished. It starts at 9 a.m. and the public is welcome. The second piece of information, I will share with my fellow commissioners copies of what Joyce has presented as soon as I get it correlated. She gave me a copy, but I can't find it. Miss efficiency. But last week, while we were celebrating the Lorain County Growth Partnership upstairs, Congressman Ryan was hosting a meeting.
Jim, could you change over, please?
Oh.
You can start all over again.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'll just tell you about it. Hal.
Picture.
Hal, can you pick this up? I didn't show this. I wasn't even, See, that's Commissioner Kalo. This is not in Technicolor, but he had, oops.
Hello.
All gone.
Nah, he looks good in a red hat.
Thank you,
That
Commissioner.
hat is red.
Was it red?
Yeah.
Yes,
Chuck
it
got it
was.
out of Betty's closet for me.
Give it back. Anyway, on our behalf, Joyce Parks, my administrative assistant, attended Congressman Tim Ryan's Western Reserve Heritage Area Study meeting that was hosted at the Lorain County Visitors Bureau last week. And there, just a little brief information, and I will forward copies to each of you. There are 17 national heritage areas already established in the country. The Western Reserve area, the one that we're talking about, is 171 miles wide and extends from Lake Erie to 3 miles south of State Route 224 and encompasses 14 counties and overlaps into the Erie Canal area, which is already established. The proposed National Heritage Area will probably follow county lines as opposed to just the Western Reserve confines. There is up to $10 million in federal money available at $1 million per year for 10 years. This money can be used as leverage to obtain additional funding. Congressman Ryan is asking that a steering committee made up of representatives from each of the 14 counties be formed by fall, and if the study can be funded in the fall, it could be in place by 2008. The next meeting is August the 14th at 7 p.m. in Burton, Ohio, and Joyce is planning to attend. I will give you copies of this. It's very interesting. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the kind words on the relay. Actually, I got chewed up by a resident when we were there because a lot of the teams were selling pop and water and energy drinks, and he said I didn't have any solid waste district recycling boxes there to pick up all the cans, so I guess I'll have to look at that for next year.
I know what's on your list for next year.
For next year, correct. Also attended the Palace Youth Theater, which is a very nice program. The arts are alive and well in Lorain County, and I think that's a real important economic development tool. Cleveland's worked it well, so hopefully we can improve our arts throughout the county with all the different theaters we have. Had an opportunity to meet with State Senator Morano, State Rep. Matt Lundy, and Ron Nabokowski, our Clerk of Courts, and Mayor Bill Grace, along with Mr. Cordez, about partnering to work on our one-stop driver's license center with the state. So hopefully we can move forward on that, something with that building or a new location to provide the service, because it is one of the busiest driver's license bureaus in the state, per what they said yesterday. Correct, Jim? Just say yes, you weren't listening.
I was. It was a good meeting.
All right. Also like to thank Bill's Bakery. A friend of mine bought it and he sent 12.5 donuts up to the Commissioner's office this morning. So thank you much, Mr. Cruz. That's the end of my comments.
I have nothing. Board correspondence?
Move the reading be waived.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Public comment?
Anybody wishing to address the board?
I move we go into executive session as outlined by the administrator and the county prosecutor.
Second?
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Every year in Lorain County, hundreds of children are abused and neglected. Many are removed from their homes for their protection. Judges must decide their futures, but they need information to make these critical decisions. You can provide this information through Voices for Children. Volunteers are men and women from all walks of life with no special or legal background who work alongside attorneys, social workers, and other court employees. As an officer of the court, you find out as much as you can about the child. You will review records, interview parents and relatives, foster parents, talk to teachers, neighbors, and most importantly, the child. When the volunteer has a complete profile, he or she appears in court to recommend what is best for the child's future. You've heard the statistics on child abuse. Now is your chance to do something about it. You don't need any special qualifications, only the desire to protect local children who desperately need your help. To become a special advocate or for more information on our next training session, call Voices for Children today.
Pedestrian injuries represent the second largest number in motor-related deaths. In the current report by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, of the 812 traffic fatalities for children ages 5 to 9, almost one-third, that's 254, were pedestrian fatalities. These numbers were just very staggering to me in this office. Most of these were from pedestrian crossings children not educated in crossing streets where there are sidewalks and obviously stoplights, or where there are no sidewalks and there are stop signs. So basically, it was based on the fact that they aren't getting proper education, or they hadn't any education on how to cross streets with sidewalks or without sidewalks. So that's what really got us motivated to look into this and do something about it.
County Engineer's Office is quite proud to announce that the Safe Routes to School program has been initiated throughout Lorain County. We're very excited about this. To help these children from grades K to 4, teaching them to walk the streets safely is very important to us. We've seen statistics that quite frankly shock us. Many times we read and see stories of pedestrians being hit by automobiles in Lorain County, and it just tears my heart to see these children from K to 4 part of that. This program is to stop that, to help diminish those type of situations, and educate these children on crossing the street safely. And we're quite happy to announce that.
Most of our workshop was developed and made in-house. Simulated sidewalks, simulated streets. We have actual working stoplights. We have the pedestrian crossing signs that actually work. We have operational railroad crossings. We also have the regular road signs, like your pedestrian crossing, your stop sign, your railroad sign. So we have all of these different things that the children can not only visualize, but then we actually interact the children in those situations so they can not only see, but they can use these in their learning abilities on how to cross the streets with and without sidewalks. We've had so many good responses back from the children, and of course it's just like anything else with children. When you ask for volunteers, when you're talking in a group of 60 and you can only have 8, it's amazing at the hands that go up. You know, does anybody want to volunteer? Well, everybody wants to volunteer. We make them go over these skills that we're trying to teach them, not only the volunteers but the group as a whole. So basically we have the whole class interacting. So if they say left, right, left, behind you, in front of you once, they say it at least 8 or 10 times before the workshop is over. So we've had many teachers and many principals tell us, and we even had one child that came up to us and said, you know what, Miss Spansky, we were going to cross the street the other day and we remembered, look left, look right, look left. So that was very rewarding. And so I think the repetition, the interaction with the children and with the items in our workshop is very important to them and to us. Before you even go into the safety part of it, they're in awe over the traffic light, and then our railroad crossing signals actually work. So they're just like, oh, ooh. And we get up there and we tell them, and we even give them some trick questions. You know, we'll say, well, we can see that train all the way down the track. Do you think we can make it, because you're fast and I'm fast and we can run? And of course they're very enthusiastic and no, we shouldn't do this. So we teach them that in some urban areas you will not have the gates that come down to keep you actually from crossing, that you may just have 2 sets of tracks, and just because one goes by and the signals stop doesn't mean that another one can't come from the other direction. So we tell them it's very, very imperative that they stay back from the tracks and they wait till those signals stop and to look both ways. And even once those signals stop, to look both ways, and they should never run across the railroad tracks. They should walk and continue to look both ways, because it's not safe and they could fall. They could injure themselves. If they're alone, if they're not with someone, it could be very dangerous, because not only could they injure themselves, they may not have help if there is a train coming, because they are so small. And as you know, some of those tracks are very large, and you're talking in kindergarten through 4th grade, some of those children are very small children. The main thing is that we tell them that only you know when it's safe. You have to make that ultimate decision. So make sure that you know that it's safe before you cross those railroad tracks or a street. One of the other things that we cover in the safety workshop, and it's also repeated in our video, children don't have that perception of the miles per hour. It's very dangerous. And the same thing with trains. We tell them that train could take, forever. It's way down there, but we don't know the actual miles per hour. We decided to use two different videos. The first one is geared for kindergarten and first grade, and that is Otto the Otto, put out by AAA.
Hi, kids. A lot of times you have to walk to get to places. And when you're walking, you have to be especially careful of cars and bicycles. Oh, no! Those kids are walking the wrong way! That's dangerous. I'm going to talk with these kids. Down at the clubhouse, they're talking about the safe way to walk on streets without sidewalks.
I say you can walk across the street anywhere you want, as long as you look first. And don't get squished flat by a car. That's a fairly simple way of looking at safety. There are actual rules and laws for walking. Yeah, but the most important one is you don't get squished flat. Who's right, Maggie? Patrick or us?
I guess in a sense, everyone's right. The main idea is to get there safely, but there are some rules to help you get there safely, like don't run out into the street without looking.
The second video, we show 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, and it is put together by the National Safety Council along with Honda, and they developed the first humanoid robot.
This is Michael. Michael, this is Osimo.
How come you dressed in a robot suit? It's not a suit. I'm a real robot. My name, Osimo, stands for Advanced Step in Innovative Mobility. I'm the world's most advanced humanoid robot. I can walk forwards, backwards, and even climb stairs just like a human. So, what's the first rule about crossing the street?
Stopping at curbs.
Correct. First, always stop at the curb. Then make sure no cars are coming. You want to look left.
It's clear.
Then right to see if any cars are coming from the other direction.
That's clear too.
Cars move fast. There might already be a new car to the left. So look left again.
Car coming.
See what I mean? Okay, he's gone.
Kids love this. They relate to Osimo as well as the younger children relate to Otto, who is an animated automobile. And he tells them about crossing streets. Osimo does the same thing, and he actually goes through with the children and tells them how to cross the street at an intersection with a traffic light, with a pedestrian crossing. He also teaches them how to cross because a lot of children at schools have parked cars. He goes over the issues of how to cross when there are parked cars. So he does a number of different things, how to cross the street when there are no sidewalks. So they both cover the basic skills. One is just geared a little bit more for the different age groups. Our response has been amazing. Not only from the children, we have received numerous cards. I have a whole box of thank yous from children from the schools where we have that have participated in our workshop. We've had nothing but a positive response back throughout the communities that we visited this year.
I think it was really nice because they had a real life robot talk to you about safety, and you got to actually do what he said was safe. He said when there are parked cars to make sure there are no drivers in before you cross the street.
I saw that we could know know what to do when there's like cars coming, not to go in the middle of the road so you don't get hurt. You have to look left, right, left, behind the shoulder, and then straight. If they don't know how to stop at sidewalks, then I'll tell them how to. If they don't know how to cross without sidewalks, then I'll tell them how to do that too, because that's what we learned. I think that it was good because I didn't know that you had the 5 ways, which were left, right, left, and then over your shoulder, and then ahead of you. I thought that crossing the road was really good for little kids if they don't know what to do by crossing the road.
It's a good idea because, like I said, the kids could walk through the whole process of crossing streets with the crosswalk, without a crosswalk, at the intersection. What happens if you're crossing in between 2 parked cars? Those are things that parents don't teach their kids. They go to Safety Town and they learn left, look right, look left again, and they go. And even my own son, who's a kindergartner, he just did Safety Town, and I still catch him flying across the street. And all I have to do is say, Matthew, remember Asimo? And he stops and he thinks and he does all the steps that he was taught in the video.
It was a great refresher, especially for them, now knowing, what to do and kind of even additional things that they may not have been told or considered before.
Most of the kids did their little safety program back when they were getting ready to go to kindergarten. They start out learning all those safety rules. Then as time goes on, if you don't reinforce those safety rules and keep telling them, just like we do as adults, we think we're safe. We don't have to follow those rules anymore. We can do what we want. We can take a chance and run across the road. And I think this program was very good at reinforcing the fact that even though we're growing up, we still have to be careful. We still have to follow the signs. We still have to follow the railroad crossings, especially around here in Amherst. We tend to have a little trouble with the railroad crossings and kids wanting to play on them. So I think it was a good review. I think it was done in a fun, learning way, and the kids really enjoyed it. We were very happy to have everyone here at St. Joseph's School.
If it saves one life, we feel like we've made a contribution. It's our way to give back to the communities.
There, here, have a treat, okay? No one can deny the loving devotion we get from our dogs, and I think we all agree we get back more love than we give them. I'm Dick Goddard. I'm reminding you, if you share your love with a dog, you'll never regret it. There's really nothing like a dog to spark up your life, whether you're a youngster, a senior citizen, or somewhere in between. And dogs have a whole lot of affection to share. Okay, is that good? You don't have to go far to hear heartwarming adoption stories.
With my husband is like saying man's best friend. He truly loves that dog. He feels it's part human. It's his second daughter, as Erica said. It's definitely a prize. She's queen of the house, basically. She's a good lover. She gives us a lot of attention. She's a good girl.
We had a cat before we had Abby, and Abby adapted very well. She is best friends with that cat. She will not harm that cat in any way. She's amazing. I love her. When I'm in bed at night, Abby will jump up with me and she will pull the covers back and she will lay under the covers and lay her head on the pillow just like a human.
I encourage anyone to go to the Lorain County Kennel to adopt a dog. It's given our family great satisfaction and a great reward.
After, a bad day at work or anytime you come home, it's just always nice. They kind of turn your mood around when you come in the door and they wagging their tails and jumping on you, and it's a great feeling to know that they're happy to see you and that they love you just as much as you love them. She is good with our other dog. She's good with people. She likes attention, and she likes to cuddle up with you.
It's funny when Lily, when you kind of discipline her sometimes when she does something bad, or she always seems to roll on her back and put her paws in the air and just look up at you with this sad look. So it's kind of hard to even get mad at her when she does something like that. So we kind of laugh at that.
And it's always amusing when she does get a spurt of energy and want to run around, and we're always like, oh my gosh, Lily's going to play now.
Yeah,
so
like sometimes, I'm on the couch or whatever, and she'll hop down, and she always tries to bite her own tail, and then that kind of keys on our other dog, Rocky, to chime in and try to, bite at her tail a little bit, and then they start playing around a little bit.
One day we came home with some food from, I just really wanted a burger. So we had a burger, and I had it sitting on the tray table by the couch, and I got up for a minute and got a drink, came back, and Lily was licking her lips. She had eaten the whole thing, and I was not very happy with her. So I screamed and told Kurt to come down and get her away from me because I was just so upset. But we both lived, and I was fine afterwards. One of the best things about adopting a dog from the kennel, at least for us, was, again, just giving this dog, who knows what would have happened to her, a new life, and also giving our other dog a companion during the day. It's just fun to have the two dogs and take them for walks and watch them play, and it brought us closer as well.
It just makes you feel better as a person that, you're giving a dog a better chance to live a life.
Actually, I enjoy the exercise because I need trying to lose weight. Salem makes me get out of the house every day, and so I have to take him for a walk, even if I don't want to. And he's not that much trouble because he was pretty much housebroken when I got him from the pound. I really like the older pet because Salem was kind of, whoever had him before, they really kind of housebroken, so I didn't really have to go through the potty training deal. I just had to let him out and find a place for him to go. And I think older pets, especially for people who don't have children, are kind of good because Salem, he's real playful, but he's not. He gets tired and he lays down and he doesn't want to be bothered, and that's fine with me. So he's not always wanting to play, because puppies have a lot of energy. And Salem has quite a bit of energy, but sometimes he just lays on his pillow and he's like, don't bother me, I won't bother you. And sometimes when he wants to play, and that's okay. I got Salem at the Lorain County Dog Pound. I found him on the internet, actually. They had his picture on the internet, and so I called and he was still there, and so I immediately went over and looked at him. We went outside and played, and he jumped in the car and wouldn't get out, and there we were. So we were on our way home. So it was love at first sight. He's a very good companion. I can always depend on him to be here and greet me with, open arms when I come in the door. He's very protective of me, and he lets me know when anyone is outside or in the driveway. So I feel safe with Salem. Even though he's a small dog, he gives me a safe feeling just in my own home. If I'm having a bad day sometimes and I'm just not in a real good mood, he'll come up and snuggle up to me like, hey, Mom, it's okay. I think other people should adopt a pet, and even an older dog. The Lorain County Pound has so many wonderful dogs. All you have to do is go over there and look. I mean, even now, I still go on the website and I tell Salem, don't you want a little brother or sister? Because they have all these little cute dogs over there, and they all need good homes. And if you're looking to adopt a pet, I suggest you try the Lorain County Dog Pound first. I mean, you pay for the license and just a nominal fee, and you got a great dog and a great companion and somebody that's going to be in your life for the rest of your life and will love you no matter what.
Hello, my fellow commissioners and I are here at the Lorain County Dog Kennel on Hathaway Street, just south of Elyria City Discount, Value City. We invite you to stop out and see the facility here. We have lots of dogs available for adoption. We also encourage all dog owners to register your dog each year and get a dog license. That's your dog's ticket home in case it gets lost. It has a number and can easily be identified so that your dog can be returned to you in case he or she might take a little walk and you are unaware of it.
Along with the regular licensing that the county requires for all dogs, we also have a special dog license. It's a special heart medical care license tag for an additional $5. And the proceeds from that go to help us when we pick up a stray that's injured, hurt, or needs extreme medical care. It helps defer the cost for us. So next time you get your dog license, please pick up the special heart tag.
The Lorain County Commissioners would like to welcome you to come down to the Lorain County Dog Kennel. We also have a website that you can check out. Just click on Dogs to Adopt. There's plenty of dogs to choose from. It's like this little girl right here. This is Sadie. You can come down, make sure it's a good match for you, take the dog out, take it for a walk. But please, if you're thinking about adopting a dog, come out to the Lorain County Dog Kennel and see if there's a match for you.
Give the Lorain County Dog Kennel a call or check their website for photos of currently available dogs. Remember, your best friend is just waiting for you.
This is our 10th barn. Nope, sorry. This is our 11th barn.
It got kind of boring watching the grass grow, so we thought we could watch the paint dry.
Bicentennial Commission was born in 1995 by order of the Ohio General Assembly. They charged the Commission with the duty of celebrating 200 years of Ohio history, culture, science, and the Commission then began the task of planning a bicentennial celebration. The goal was always to include every Ohio county in the celebration, and to do that, it was a grassroots up instead of a top-down. It was more of a bottom-up approach to the bicentennial, starting with the communities. We couldn't tell Clark County what to do from Columbus, but Clark County could tell us what they had in mind for the bicentennial. So that was really the tack that we took when we sat down and said, how are we going to plan the bicentennial? The beginnings in each Ohio county was forming groups in each county, and that's where our regional people came in, and they helped kind of light the fire in each county for the bicentennial, and that was kind of hard back then. There was not a lot of kindling to light a fire for the bicentennial, as you can imagine, in 1997 and 1998. So we said, how can we get the word out? How can we spread the message of all things bicentennial? One of the original regional coordinators, her name is Nicole Moretti. Nicole is a wonderfully creative person from Meigs County down in the Appalachian section of Ohio. They were at a meeting, and Nicole, out of the blue, said,
Barns make a lot of sense in my district. Can't you see this logo all over barns in rural counties all over Ohio?
And about the next thought everybody had in their mind was, great, how do we paint a barn?
The general consensus of the office was, if we could figure out how to do it, we would try it. But I called paint stores and I called all these places, and nobody seemed to know how to do that anymore.
So Nicole took it upon herself to see if it could go. And she was in, I forget what town it was.
Barnesville. And was in the Chamber of Commerce in Barnesville, and somebody had to take a phone call. And like any good former journalist, I read the stuff on the desk while I waited, and one of them was a Barnesville Enterprise, and on the front cover of the Barnesville Enterprise was this beautiful barn scouted painted.
In the photo was a picture of a barn, and on the barn was a logo of the Ohio State University, painted by, at that time, 19-year-old kid.
And I didn't know, but my grandfather snapped a picture of it, and he took it to Barnesville and had it developed, and then he took it over to Barnesville Enterprise. And I didn't know he was doing this, but they saw a picture of it and liked it well enough to put on the front page of the Barnesville Enterprise.
And she took that front page. She immediately called the Ohio Bicentennial office in Columbus and said,
I found him, he's real, and I'm in Barnesville.
It fell into place with Nicola coming down at the right time, because that barn of ours had been on the front page of the Barnesville Enterprise.
And with that, she went off to find our barn painter.
I think we ended up having conversations over the phone for the next month, on and off, and then finally I went up to Columbus, and we talked about doing one barn in every county in the state.
If you go back and look at our announcement of the project back then in the press releases, it was our goal was to paint at least one barn in each county. We didn't say we were going to do it because we didn't know if we were going to do it. We didn't know if Scott was going to do it. We didn't know if we wanted his logo on every barn. Was he good enough? Did he have the talent? Did he have the skills? Did he have what it took to travel from every county in Ohio? I mean, we're talking about a kid.
We had discovered Scott, and we decided that we wanted to attempt this and see how it worked out, and we chose an out-of-the-way barn in Belmont County so that we could try it, not necessarily directly in the public eye, see how it went, explore the possibilities.
The first barn is in Belmont County because that's the county I'm from, and I think we went ahead and did that since it was local and close for me, and I even helped pick out that barn. And in those days, we kind of had to go door to door to find barns because no one knew of it. And even to describe what we were doing, I think took a little time.
And at the end of 3 days, we decided it was good enough for local media. We wanted some improvement before we released it statewide, and if we would make a decision to do that, it might come at a later time. We invited all the local media, but the Wheeling Register was one of the papers that came. They took a fantastic picture of the barn, and they were proud of it. They put it up on the AP Wire, and the next morning we were on the front page of the Cleveland Plain Dealer.
And that's kind of how it began. It began in a very, I'd like to say we were Madison Avenue geniuses and knew that sure we were going to have great media attention and barn groupies and all that has happened, but it was pretty hit and miss at that point. We didn't know how this project would pan out and if it would even be more than a one barn project. Nearly 2,000 barn owners have applied to have their barns receive the logo. Now we can't do 2,000 barns. We're doing one official barn in each county. So the selection criteria is we have 3 things that we look for.
Barns that are made out of wood, ones that are in good condition. That makes my job a lot easier. And barns that are on a high traveled road so people can see them.
Each coordinator will go out and look at the barns that have applied to have the logo. In some counties it could be as few as 20. In others it could be as many as 50. But they will go out and actually look at the barn and see if it meets our criteria. The part of the project that's often overlooked is the part of the project that makes the project possible. That's the person working over my shoulder right now.
Well, when I was, growing up, I don't remember sitting in the classroom saying that when I grew up I wanted to be a barn painter.
He just loves art of all kinds, and so he experimented, of course, on our barn But we enjoyed everything that he did.
We could not do this without Scott Hagan. And not just because of his skill with a paintbrush. That's what everybody knows. I know Scott Hagan as a person. I've worked with Scott Hagan, and Scott Hagan has become my friend.
The story I always tell to everyone is this. I said a prayer for Scott when he got out of school, that God would find him something in art, because that's what his love was in art. So, with tears streaming down my face, I prayed for him to find something. And I never dreamed it would be this big. And this is what God did for Scott.
He is a wonderful ambassador for the state of Ohio, and really is our only true statewide ambassador. He travels to every county representing the Bicentennial Commission.
But the people everywhere seem to be really awesome people, really willing to help you. I remember needing directions on several occasions, and I remember a guy, I just pulled over and asked for directions, and he said, I'll tell you what, you just follow me and I'll run you right down there. And I know he was busy doing something else, but just things like that, I mean, I'll never forget that kind of thing.
He does it as a professional. He is a wonderful person to work with.
Well, the first interview I had was in Belmont County. I remember that pretty well. It was on my birthday. And I looked into the camera and I thought of the long haul he was going to have, 88 barns, and it just sounded like so much. And so I remember telling them on the camera, I said, you know, I just hope that everybody out there will take good care of Scott, and I feel that they will. And I just felt like there's a lot of good people out there, I know there are, and I know he's going to come home and tell me about a lot of these, which he did, and I want to thank those women who put him up, because they had no idea who he was, they didn't know what he really was all about, and you know, it's hard to trust people anymore. But he had a lot of nice places to stay, and I really am grateful. I'm grateful for those people that put him up. I appreciate it so much.
He is dependable, he's hardworking, honest as the day is long, a consummate gentleman, wonderful with the public, and he's 25 years old. What are the chances of that? I mean, we turned a 20-year-old kid loose on the state of Ohio, and we are much the better for it. I can't say enough about working with Scott. Now, any of the barn followers, there are so many of them out there, have probably noticed Scott's technique, how it has changed, and how he would be the first to admit that it's improved from that first barn in Belmont County.
I know that the first few barns were pretty hard with that big script O, and I had a lot of trouble with the big O. And the first year and a half, I'd mess around for hours trying to get that big O right.
His technique has gotten so much better, and the style has gotten better and changed. It's much bolder. His lines are bolder from the way he does Ohio to the almost perfect lines of the Bicentennial, the way he writes it. The logo flows much freely now. It's not as stiff on the surface.
Well, I never really had any formal art training, or people always ask me, how long did you go to college or that. I didn't go to any art school or anything like that. I just kind of learned it for myself. My mother has a lot to do with that, and her mother, because they have artistic talent as well.
He approaches each barn the same way, looks for the same types of characteristics. Is there a window in the way? Are there vents on each side? A lot of barns, you know, they were working farms, so they need to vent the heat out of the top of the barn. So if you're storing hay or something, so they're going to have vents, they're going to have windows, they might have a door to use to access the top part of the barn. These are all things that he looks at when he approaches a site, when he sees the site for the first time.
What usually happens is Bicentennial will send me a picture of the barn, and then that way I kind of know what I'm going to be dealing with when I go there.
He looks for the type of wood. He prefers a wider board.
This is a real nice surface to work on as far as barns go, because it's real flat and they're big boards, and the detail's a lot easier to do on a nice barn like this.
The tongue and groove gives him fits. He's always muttering about tongue and groove.
A lot of times I'll get barns that are, I call tongue and groove surface, and there's a groove about every 2 inches, and that makes it not as much fun to do, because you've got to get in there with your brush, and then it wants to run down all those grooves.
But the proof is in his work, and if you go back and look at the barns that are tongue and groove, they are finely detailed. He really takes pride in his work. He will not rush, although I've tried to move him along sometimes, and sometimes I try and slow him down.
The barn can take as many as 3 days and as little as 1 day to do. Depends on the size of the barn, condition of the sand when I get there, that sort of thing. If the barn side needs painted, that's going to add some time.
But he really takes a lot of pride in what he does, and it's evident in all 88 barns. They're magnificent. And I think it's because it's the patient way and the professional way that he approaches each barn. One of the most interesting components of this are the barn, heck, I'll call them barn groupies, that follow Scott Hagan from county to county to county. I mean, let's face it, they're coming out to watch paint dry.
Well, let's see, I've only got 5 more to go, so what, 83, let's see?
74. And next week we're going to do 7 up in the northern counties, Lorain, Erie, and there, and then after that we'll almost be up with Scott.
That'll make us 64, I think, of the 88.
We've got 9 barns that we've spotted. We've got pictures of 7, and so this makes our 10th barn.
70 some. And we've got this one to get yet, and then 2 on the way home.
Clinton County, Montgomery County, Ashland County,
Marion and Morrow and Logan.
One time we drove like 14 hours, and we only hit like 7 of the barns, so usually it's just to go get the barns and then back home again.
Jackson County, Ross County.
It was amazing to us. I mean, they're, planning trips to go to different barns and all these things, and they all had shirts. We're like, whoa.
And this all got started with me at the painting of the Miami County barn. I was born in that county, so I thought it was interesting that I could see that be painted. So we went up and spent 2 days, and it was pretty much weather like we've been having in the 90s and hot, but it was wonderful. The second day when he finished, they had homemade ice cream and cookies shaped like the state of Ohio. And so that was really a nice, it was a lot of fun. It was a fun time.
I saw my first one in Tuscaloosa, number 11. That was in October of 1998. And from there, I couldn't believe how neat they all were.
I said, how do I get addresses for these? And she said, oh, we can send you all that. So she sent me up to dates, the 67 that had been painted.
We took off and we started doing it. And the more we did, the more we enjoyed it. We got to see different places of the state that we probably would have never gone before, ride roads that we would have definitely never been on before. And as we started seeing more and more barns, it became interesting to see the different paintings. Although the emblem and the symbol is the same, it's always got a little bit of flair to it, a little variety. And it was really a good time for us.
We tried to do 7 barns in a day. And we would sit down the night before and plan our trip. And I had a list of everything. We go this road, right, left. And so it took all the work out of it when we went to photograph the barn. We always went to the door, asked for permission if it was all right if we photographed. A lot of times we didn't find people at home, but a lot of times we did. And that was the most wonderful experience, talking to those people. And they sent us home with wonderful stories, a lot of laughs. And one couple even sent us home with a basket full of produce out of their garden.
The one in Muskegon, it was way back in, and when we pulled up there, the man and lady were in their golf carts. They were going, I guess, back to the barn. And they were so nice. They stood there and they got out of the cart and they talked to us probably about an hour and a half. And it was really nice.
Yeah, we're barn groupies. When you pull into a barn and there's 200 people there, I guess you got to consider yourself one of them.
What makes otherwise normal, hardworking, everyday Ohioans drop everything they're doing, drive thousands of miles over the 5-year history of the project to sit and watch Scott paint a barn, to take photos of Scott painting a barn?
They're all of them are different. I mean, different colors and the way he paints them, it's really great.
My husband wasn't real red hot when we first got started with the idea, but as we went along, he's had as much fun as I did because he loves to visit, and he loves to visit the older generation, and we're finding a lot of those with these farms and barns.
Everybody's been very, very friendly, and we've had a lot of neat experiences. Usually it's hard to leave because they're so nice. They want you to stay and enjoy the time.
It's been great. We've met such good people, and talking to them is just something else. I mean, all of them have been so nice, and Scott has really been nice. I mean, he's signed a lot of papers for me and pictures for me, and he's a great guy.
And I'll ask these people, where are you traveling from? And they'll say, Licking County. And I'll look on my map, and heck, that's an hour and a half away, or 2 hours, or 3 hours, or 4 hours. These people are going to those barns.
We're over 5,000 miles. And by the time we do next week, and maybe a few more around the southern Scioto and Lawrence yet, it'll be over 6.
Oh boy, about 9,500. That would be going, going and coming, getting in.
There's a lady in Shelby County that called, and she didn't know she could make it. I said, well, it's going to be a nice project. Well, she called me back to tell me that she would be here. She didn't have to do that, but she just felt like she needed to call and tell me she was going to be there. The barn enthusiasts, I think they've taken ownership of this project. They're very proud of what they've done and very proud of their scrapbooks.
I have a book over here, I have a book. They're all in there, up to date.
Jealous if somebody's got a photo of the Wood County barn before it was touched up and a Wood County barn after it was touched up.
I'll probably be working on it 5 years from now. I love it.
They trade them back and forth, and when did you get that, and have you been to Sandusky, and have you been to Lucas, and have you seen the yellow barn in Cuyahoga County, or the black barn in Hamilton County, and oh, it's hard to find, you won't be able to find it, the directions are terrible. We get that call a lot.
Some of these places to get to are a real challenge.
And I'm looking and looking and looking, and he's saying, did you see it? Did you see it? Of course I didn't see it, or I'd have told him.
We didn't know where we were at because we knew the barn was around, that area somewhere.
So I'm looking and looking and looking, and
we wasn't even anywhere near where we were supposed to go, so he showed us this little road to go to, and it was really, really way back in.
I've always described the whole thing as a scavenger hunt because the directions are never perfect. Some of them aren't very good.
As I tell people that call the office, the directions are purposely vague because it adds to the thrill of the hunt. There's a scavenger hunt quality to it.
Well, it's definitely a thrill because sometimes you've been looking for a while.
I'm often asked, why is this project taken on the popularity that it has?
I think they're universal. There literally isn't a county in Ohio without a barn. It's something we all have close to home. And each one's unique and a little bit different depending on the agricultural industry of the area, the ethnic heritage of the area. The barns are shaped different. They're sized differently. They're positioned differently. And so every county has an opportunity to have something that's uniquely theirs, that they can see the picture and go, I know that's mine. And yet they share it with every other county too.
The first footprints in Ohio were agriculture, whether it was Native Americans planting corn, settlers planting crops for sustenance and for a livelihood, to the agriculture that we have today. There's an agricultural heritage to Ohio. Barns are obviously a part of that.
It's such a big thing. Ohio is just a wonderful place where they raise food for just so many things. There's so many different varieties of things that they have. So it's a huge thing in Ohio, and I'm proud of it. I'm really proud of it.
I think barns are a throwback to a simpler time. They evoke an Americana that I think people long for, especially right now.
Well, it does. One of the original images in my head before it even became a spoken, conscious idea was of traveling places with my grandparents as a child. We used to go to Athens to White's Mill in the spring to get the seed and the chicks and the little bunnies for Easter. And coming back, we'd count mail pouch barns. And it was like a sort of a fun game on the way, a landmark way to know your territory and see that territory.
I think people enjoy going and sitting in a lawn chair and talking to a neighbor. They enjoy going and sitting in a lawn chair and watching something that you don't see anymore, an art form that is from days gone by.
Well, one reason I think barns have been so popular is because no one really does that kind of work anymore. When the male push died out, there hasn't been anything for years, and I think people see that it's someone actually using a brush to do work. That's one thing. And it's not a billboard. They really seem to pay a lot more attention to barns than they do billboards, just because it's just not something that you see all the time.
And I think the bicentennial has kind of made the barns an icon of their celebration. Barns are an American icon, and we have kind of co-opted barns and made them our own.
I have had so many people say to me, I've seen barns in this county and that county and whatever, and that's what you hear about is the barns.
Takes us back to yesteryear and makes you feel a little bit like you're a part of that time.
And you tend to see things other states, and you don't see anything in your own area, so this gives you a chance to see your own state a little bit.
Well, it's just, we love farm, and we love farm people and small town people. And we have eaten in restaurants in these small towns, and the people in there are so friendly, and it's just been an absolute wonderful time to fellowship with just the cream of the crop, the farmers and the small town people. Nothing wrong with big towns, but there's just something about the country. It's a great country.
You know, with everything that's happened in America over the past several months, it's just true Americana. I think that's really, really what says it all.
As the Ohio Bicentennial Barn Project winds down, we are often asked, did we know that it would have this impact? We were not Madison Avenue geniuses. We had no idea what the impact of this project would be. We are thrilled, amazed, and awed by this project. It's allowed us to touch every Ohio county.
One of the proudest things that have happened, in my opinion, out of this is that many of Ohio's barns that were in disrepair, that aren't even part of the program, have been repaired and become symbols of family history. People are painting their family names on barns with dates of founding, and I've seen knockoff bicentennial barns with big Ohio flags on them, and I have seen barns with Cardinals and barns with John Deere tractors and barns with Holstein cattle, and I'm really happy to see every one of them.
It brings you home. I mean, a lot of us grow up and move away from your hometown, but it kind of brings you back.
I'm grateful for this. It's been a real experience for our family. And for Scott, it's a dream. I came here yesterday and I thought about the movie, The Field of Dreams. I thought about the cornfields here and soybeans and that, and I just thought, you know, God, it's been a field of dreams. And I'm so appreciative of it. You don't know how much appreciative I am of it. I just am so grateful. And I want to thank the Bicentennial Commission. They opened doors for our whole family. And I just want to say thanks.
Well, I would paint thank you really big to everybody that's been part of it. Without the Bicentennial, I wouldn't be where I'm at. And, you know, I'd like to think I have a little something to do with the Bicentennial too. So I guess thank you from the barn painter would be just good enough for me, and that would be neat. I guess that's what people call me, as a barn painter, so that's fine.
We're Buckeyes, and they say Buckeyes are worthless nuts, but I don't believe a word of it. There are wonderful people in this state.
The Bicentennial has come to every Ohio county and allowed each Ohio county to celebrate Ohio, to celebrate what's important to that county. And if at the end of the day, when Scott has taken down his scaffolding and the paint is dried and the bunting is removed, people walk away from a barn project, feel a little bit better about themselves, about their country, about Ohio, have learned a little bit about their community, well, that's pretty good. That's what we had always hoped for.
Unsightly litter is often the result of well-intentioned people like you and me being careless at the curb, around business areas, and at work sites. Lucky the Ladybug, Ohio's first lady of litter prevention, says nobody wants to live or work around trash. Litter lowers property values and it's costly to clean up.
Keep Lorain County beautiful. Put the lid on trash.
We've all heard the gruesome statistics concerning child abuse. Maybe you've dismissed them and convinced yourself there's nothing you can do to help. Truth is, you can help. Voices for Children can make you an advocate to a child in Lorain County who desperately needs your help. Make the time to make a difference. Call Voices for Children today and find out how you can become part of the solution in speaking up for an abused child. We need your help.